Today we're braising chicken thighs in an herby tomato sauce that is very common in the south of France region of Provence. There are many versions of this dish, but today we are making the minimalist version. Let me tell you why I stripped this dish down to its bare essentials. I'm working on a very exciting project this summer. I'm going to other people's kitchens to cook on different types of stoves to see what I can learn about them. Of course, to make it a fair comparison, I'll need to cook the same dish in the same pan on all the stoves, and I thought a chicken braise would be a great option. It requires both high heat and low heat and can really show off the burner's browning abilities on a large cooking surface. My chicken thighs with leeks and quince would have been an awesome test of any stove. But shooting off-site is exponentially more complicated, so it's a good reason to keep things simple. That's why I decided to replace the leeks that are difficult to wash with plain old yellow onions and to replace the stock with a can of tomatoes. Once I made those modifications, it looked an awful lot like chicken Provençal, so I thought, why don't we just add some herbs and call it that? I recorded cooking this dish on my own stove and thought that you might like this recipe. Since I like to dirty one cutting board for both the chicken and the veggies, I'll start with the veggies. Dice 2 yellow onions. If you have some sturdy herbs like rosemary, sage, and thyme, they'll make a great addition to this dish. Today I have all 3. Pull out the stems from your rosemary and thyme. Collect the herbs into one pile and slice thinly. Then mince the other way. Although I love fresh herbs, dry herbs could work here too. This kind of dry herb mix is called herbes de Provence. Slice a few garlic cloves very thinly and then mince. Dry your chicken thighs very thoroughly on paper towels. If they are damp, they'll stick and won't brown well. How many you can cook depends on the size of your pan. Today I'm using a very large pan. It's 12 inches in diameter with straight sides, so I can fit 8 thighs. Trim any extra skin dangling off the chicken. I like to trim any loose tendons and blood vessels, but that's up to you. Set the pan over high heat and add 1 tablespoon of oil with a high smoke point, something like canola. You need very little oil since the chicken will produce a lot of fat. Season the chicken with salt on both sides. Try to get your chicken in the pan fairly quickly after salting, or the chicken will start to sweat, which is bad for browning. An even better option that will produce more succulent chicken is to salt the chicken the day before and dry it before cooking, but that requires some planning. When the oil gets hot, swirl the pan to spread out the oil and add the chicken skin side down. If your burner is very aggressive, you might want to turn down the heat slightly so that the chicken is browning steadily but not burning. Cook until the skin turns brown and crisp. This will take 5 to 8 minutes. If your chicken is not releasing from the pan easily, it's not brown enough and you need to give it more time or higher heat or both. Flip and cook for a few minutes until the other side browns lightly. Here we go. We have color on the other side. Turn down the heat to medium-low, remove the chicken from the pan, add the onions and some salt and cook, stirring occasionally until the onions become tender and golden brown. This will take about 15 minutes. You want to be patient and keep the heat quite low to give them a chance to turn completely tender without burning. This is a good time to preheat the oven to 325. Our onions look good, and we can add the garlic, the herbs, and another pinch of salt. Cook, stirring occasionally for a couple of minutes or until very aromatic. Add 1 cup of dry white wine and a large can of diced or whole tomatoes. If your tomatoes are whole, chop them up a bit. I do this right in the pan with some flat-edged spoon or spatula. Bring the mixture to a boil and season with salt. If you want, you can add some olives and a couple of bay leaves. Snuggle the chicken thighs into the sauce. As with all chicken braises, you want the meat to be mostly submerged, but the skin to stay above the liquid so that it doesn't get soggy. Pour in any chicken juices that accumulated on the plate. Bring the sauce to a boil and place the pan uncovered in the middle of the oven for 1 hour. If you have really big chicken thighs, they might take longer, but it's good to start testing them after 1 hour. Try poking a thigh from underneath with a fork or a dull knife. It should feel completely soft. Here, let me show you the texture now that it's cool enough to handle. See, it should pull apart very easily. For a full Provençal experience, add some boiled potatoes and green beans, pour yourself a glass of rosé, and enjoy! Here are more very detailed cooking tutorials for you to check out, and if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.